In the event of a security incident, we should remain inside the secure area of the town hall unless it's safe, or if we are instructed to evacuate. If instructed to evacuate, we will be advised to disperse within this 400 metres away from the building or proceed to another specified BDC premises, which will be nearby. Can I draw your attention to the notice in the room regarding recording and the use of social media? Bassetlaw District Council permits audio and or visual recording and photography at council meetings. Proceedings of this meeting may also be reported via social media. If a member of the public or press wishes to do so, could they please indicate now? So I'm taking that nobody is intending to record apart from the recording by BDC itself. So if we move to the agenda proper, so at this point I will suspend council procedural rules for 15 minutes to allow questions from members of the public. Mr. Almond, are there any questions from members of the public?
I have not had any notification of any proposed questions, Chair.
Thank you. So then we'll move to apologies for absence. Mr. Johnson, are there any apologies for absence?
No, Chair, there are no apologies.
Thank you. Then if we move to declarations of interest, are there any declarations of interest by members? No. Any declarations of interest by officers? No. Okay, thank you. So then if we move to pages 7 to 14, the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of March 2026. Can anyone agree that these are a true record? Thank you. And then if we move to the outstanding minutes list on pages 15 to 18, would anyone like to raise any issues on the outstanding minutes list? No? Thank you. And then if we move to the forward plan on pages 19 to 28, would anyone like to raise any issues on the forward plan? No? Thank you. So then if we move to item 7 on the agenda, 7A is the report from the Cabinet Member for Identity Planning in Place. This is the Regeneration Programme Update Report. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present an update on the Regeneration Programme, including the Priory Centre redevelopment and the Pride in Place Programme. These projects are central to our long-term vision for Worksop and the wider district. Improving facilities, strengthening the local economy and creating a town centre that works for residents, businesses and visitors. The Priory Centre remains our flagship regeneration project, funded through local regeneration fund and matched by council investment. I'm pleased to report that demolition works are progressing well and remain on programme with completion expected on the 1st of May. The main construction contract, valued at 13.287 million, is ready for execution on the 30th of April, enabling principal works to begin on the 5th of May. Completion is anticipated in late summer 2027, in line with the agreed programme. The total approved budget is 22.365 million. Following a tender progress and pre-construction work, the project cost stands at 22,602 million, just 1% of budget. However, inflation and global instability continues to pose risk, particularly around steel and material prices. To ensure that we can manage any unforeseen pressures without delay to the programme, we are recommending a 10% contingency on the main contract value. This equates to 1.566 million of additional prudential borrowing, which will only be used if required. Government has now formally endorsed the 10-year vision and 4-year regeneration plan, which represents a significant milestone for this programme. I would also like to place on record my thanks to the Pride in Place Board for exceptional work in developing both the 10-year vision and the 4-year investment plan. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Andrew Birch, Chair of the Board, Sally Gibbon, Vice Chair, along with Julie Brailsford, Michelle Cleaver and Rebecca Bibby. Their leadership, commitment and collaborative approach have been instrumental in shaping a clear, credible and ambitious vision for the future of our town. Their achievements and its importance to Bassetlaw as a whole cannot be underestimated. The framework they have helped establish provides a strong foundation for long-term regeneration, confidence from government and a meaningful delivery on the ground. Advisory groups are now in place, bringing together partners to help shape and prioritise town centre activities. One-year projects are ready to move into delivery as soon as the Memorandum of Understanding is signed. These include business support programmes, shopfront and fit-out grants, enhanced street cleaning and community safety assessments. As more schemes move from planning into delivery, the need for specialist project managers support increases. We are therefore asking approval to increase the value of the existing Perfect Circle framework contract to ensure that we have the capacity to deliver the programme efficiently. These projects support every pillar in Vision 2040, the economic growth, the skills for health, environment and community identity. They are also aligned with the preparations for local government regeneration, ensuring the primary centre is completed before April 2028 and is handed over in a modern fit-for-purpose condition. Carbon reduction, community safety and equality considerations have all been embedded throughout. Chair, I hope Cabinet can support the recommendations that are set out at 6.1 to 6.4 in the report. These investments represent a major step forward for Worksop and the district. They will deliver long-term benefits for residents and ensure our town centres remain vibrant, resilient and fit for the future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stoffel. Mrs. Beresford, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Chair. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from anyone? Councillor McConnell.
Thank you. Looking at the original levelling up funding bid, that only requested £17.9 million from the government when the total amount available was 20 million. Why did the council not put in the initial bid for 20 million, knowing there would be a risk of cost going up due to inflation?
Mrs. Beresford.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Farnham. In relation to the bid that was put forward, obviously at the time and what was available through government, that did have a particular grant allocation attached to it. And obviously the council's also put in a match fund to support the initial bid as well. It is some time ago now, obviously since the initial grant allocation was secured through government, and there has been inflationary costs across the board, and that's what we've had to revisit more recently as well, with obviously the global conditions at the moment. So we've managed to invest of our ability. It's not unique to Bassetlaw or the private centre development in particular, but it's obviously an emerging feature across all regeneration programmes.
Thank you, Mrs. Beresford. Mr. Armitage, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, we need to go back and double check the original submission, but my recollection was we bid for the maximum amount we could do under the scheme, and I think that because the match funding was part of the overall requirement, so 20 million was the total package, and therefore having had to put in certain match funding, the maximum we could bid for was the effectively 18 million-ish that was actually in the proposal. So I'm fairly certain that we actually maximised what we could obtain, but we can check that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? So then if we move to the recommendations, which are on page 34, 6.1, 2, 3 and 4, on favour. you, that's carried. We now move to item 7B, which is the Humberhead Level Supply Series of UNESCO designation proposal. Mr. Sorry, my apologies. Councillor Stockholm, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks Cabinet endorsement of the Humberside Levels UNESCO Biosphere Reserve nomination and approval of the £5,000 contribution for 2027-28. The Humberside Levels covers the northern parts of Bassetlaw and is a national significant peatland and agricultural landscape. The proposed biosphere design is non-regulatory. It introduces no new planning control, no or land use restrictions, and it does affect existing statutory protections such as SSIs. What it does provide is a voluntary, partnership-led framework to manage the landscape at scale, bringing together councils, environmental bodies, farmers and communities. It supports climate change, mitigation, biodiversity recovery, suitable farming, food management and opportunities for education, tourism and local pride. The proposal secured candidate status in October 2024. To be included in the final UNESCO nomination, formal council endorsement is required. Without it, Northern Bassetlaw would be excluded, limited our influence and access to future funding opportunities. Doncaster Council has committed around 300,000. Other council partners have agreed to contribute £5,000 per year. The recommendation contribution for Bassetlaw secures us a voting seat at the Biosphere Board, ensuring that we can shape priorities, ensure benefits are delivered fairly in our area. This is a low-cost, high-value opportunity that aligns strongly with Vision 2040 and our climate change and place-making objectives. I therefore recommend Cabinet to endorse the nominations, approve the endorsement letter and agree the £5,000 contribution for 27-28. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stockholm. Mr. Taylor, now we're looking to add. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? No? I actually agree with this report. I think it makes a lot of sense. For a very small amount of £5,000, it allows us to help shape what happens in the Humberhead area. So I would also support this report. So if we move to the recommendations, which are on page 39, 6.1. Councillor McCall.
Thank you. The only question I've got is in terms of my ward clay work. Half the ward will be in this zone and half the village will be in the zone and half will be. Is there any reason why the entire village couldn't have been put in this or out of it?
It was actually been mapped on the characteristics of the area rather than the local authority boundary, which is why it comes within parts of Bassetlaw and not all of Bassetlaw, and that extends down to the Oldlands area as well. So it's based on the characterisation of the land, the Republic and the geographic boundaries of the area around the district.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the map, and I've extended it, it looks as though the boundary actually goes directly through my property. I mean, as long as you can see that. I don't know whether that's significant or not, but irrespective of that, I think it's a superb scheme. I'm pleased that we want to be at the table and we're paying £5,000 to do that. I think it'll put us in good position to help achieve some of our objectives in the 2040 vision. So I welcome this.
Thank you, Councillor. I think something might be similar to something like Northern Park or Sherwood Forest. Those designated areas don't pay attention to parishes or district boundaries. So, if we move to the recommendations, which I think I said before, are on page 39, 6.1, 6.2 and 6.3, all in favour? Thank you, that's carried. So, If we now move to item 8A, that's my report, and it's about local government reorganisation, beginning on page 47. So, the aim of this report is to provide an update on the current situation regarding the Nottinghamshire local government reorganisation submission. The government is expected to announce their preferred model for Nottinghamshire in the early summer of this year. Once a decision is taken on which proposal to implement, the government will prepare the necessary legislation known as Structural Changes Order, or SCO, for parliamentary approval. This order makes provision to abolish the existing arrangements for local government and, importantly, replace any currently planned elections with new elections for the unitary councils. In the case of Nottinghamshire, this means that there will be elections to the new shadow unitary council in May 2027, but the district elections currently planned for May 2027 will not take place, and the terms of existing councils will be extended by 1 year. Significant work is already in hand ahead of the announcement by government of their preferred option for Nottinghamshire to prepare for the transition of the new authorities. A Nottinghamshire-wide programme management officer is in place with input from all authorities, including Bassetlaw, and with a number of key work streams having been established as detailed in the report. To address the capacity implications arising from LGR and to safeguard ongoing service delivery, the Council has appointed a lead programme manager. The role will actively support managers across the Council in delivering their LGR work streams and helping to identify and manage risks to service continuity. There remains significant concern that some staff may be uncertain about the potential implications of LGR, which may make recruitment and retention difficult as the Council gets closer to the vesting day for the new authorities. Vesting day is the day that the new authority starts. It is therefore important that the Council is able to act flexibly and urgently in order to ensure we retain capacity to deliver business as usual activities. Most importantly, as we are in reality creating new authorities from its ground up, the Council needs to commit appropriate resources to all of the work to ensure that the process delivers the best outcome, not just for the new unitary authority, but also for the residents, businesses and environment in Bassetlaw, and also for our staff. The delivery of local government reorganisation for Nottinghamshire is a major challenge, but if done successfully will ensure that new authorities can take forward the work done by the existing authorities and are able to strengthen the delivery of key services for the benefit of our residents, businesses and the environment. The recommendations are detailed at 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 and 6.4 of the report. Mr. Arnold, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add on that, Chair. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor McFarlane.
Thank you. On the 6.2 it says allocate resources as required to ensure the best outcome. Is that in terms of the version of LGR we're going to get, or is that in relation to something else?
Mr. Arnold.
The best outcome in that instance is related to making sure that we get best for the people, the businesses, residents and staff of Bassetlaw. So this process will involve a series of negotiations to move forward. At this stage, we probably can't say precisely what that will be involving, but the intention is to make sure that whatever the design of the new authority, it delivers services in the best possible way, continuing what's been done within this authority. So it's a general process, the reference, and it will be an ongoing thing that we will need to keep reporting back about how we're achieving that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I mean, under 3.23 it talks about concerns for staff, and I think we all share that in staff along with it. But what I would say, certainly the neighbourhoods portfolio, we managed to have 2 posts. We have a new head of neighbourhoods from this today, and we also have shortly to join us a new head of waste management. And I know that all people in this organisation has joined the portfolio as well. So I think we've got a very positive attitude here, or attracting people. It's business as usual. And I think the point that the Chief Executive has said, we're all working to provide the best service for people, be ready for new authority, and there will be opportunities for staff as well as obviously challenges. So I welcome this report, it's forward-looking, and well done to all those involved. Thank you, Chair.
Any other comments or questions? I obviously support the report. An awful lot of work has been done and is continuing to be done. Some of it by elected members, but an awful lot of work by our staff, trying to make sure that we get the best of Bassetlaw and also the best of the unitary that we're going to be part of. I think you're right, Councillor Paul. We actually are very successful compared to a lot of other councils in the staff that we attract. And I was presenting today at the induction for new staff, and we had 9 new staff, and 2 of them had already worked with Bassetlaw in the past and had come back because they thought it was a very good place to work. And there's a real focus on making a difference that all of us want to see for our residents. So, the recommendations are on page 54, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 and 6.4. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. So if we now move to the Children and Young People Annual Progress Report, which is on page 55 to 70, and again this is my area of responsibility. So this is an annual report which highlights the work undertaken in support of children and young people in Bassetlaw and contains contributions from staff in performance and engagement, skills and economic development, Bassetlaw Museum, health and wellbeing, antisocial behaviour and BPL. So this is not work that's delivered in silos, which we're all trying to avoid. This is multidisciplinary work and across the whole of the council. The report is shaped around the following Every Child Matters outcomes of being healthy, staying safe, enjoying and achieving, making a positive contribution and achieving economic well-being. And I'd like to highlight a few of the activities that have taken place under these outcomes. Under Be Healthy, over 3,000 young people were on swimming lessons programmes, and there were over 400 junior members and 161 family memberships in our leisure centres, with access to the pools, fitness suites and classes. In terms of Stay Safe, our ASB team have attended school-based events and community events giving advice and items such as cycle strips and lights. Under Enjoy and Achieve, our museum hosted 2,105 school visitors over 60 different session topics and loaned camping boxes to schools. STEM events were held linked to the Festival of Science and Curiosity. I've certainly taken my grandchildren to those and they were excellent events, lots and lots of families attending. Under Making a Positive Contribution, the Youth Council had meetings on 10 different topics and 2 of our youth councillors attended the MP Youth Select Committee in Chesterfield. Under Achieving Economic Wellbeing, there were a number of activities in this area, including 1,800 students attending the annual What Next Careers event, with outreach sessions also delivered at 5 schools. I attended that myself, it was really well received by these students who went. As part of building the future talent pipeline for Bassetlaw's economy, 15 sessions were delivered overall, covering topics such as careers, STEM, fusion and the NHS. I've also been to a number of schools, and when I started going to schools, a lot of kids didn't really know what STEM was and didn't know about the fusion that is being developed in Bassetlaw. But that's changing, and children are looking at whether or not they might be employed in that arena. The Council has been supported in delivering these activities by a number of partners, and I'm grateful for their ongoing support and participation. Most of all, I think the report highlights how active and engaged young people in our communities are, and it's important that we continue to provide them with opportunities to grow, develop and aspire, and that's really important here in Bassetlaw. I'd also like to thank our staff because they have put an awful lot of work into working with our young people, both on all of the events that we deliver, but also the Youth Council, which is very active and full of enthusiastic people. Recommendations are on page 56, and there's only one that Cabinet note the work undertaken in the last year in support of children and young people and approve the annual report for publication on the Council's website. I would recommend that people read it. It's long, but it's really interesting. and I look forward to getting the next report next year. Any questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bressington, do you have any comments to make?
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo, although my services pull the report together, you quite rightly highlighted it is the work of all those different teams listed. So I'd just like to echo the thanks for that application for the question.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Slater.
Yeah, I suppose for me, I was reflecting on the fact that the report you've just done falls also on LGR. And also when we do become a unitary authority, we'll have responsibility for children and young people's services. And what I just want to reflect was when I was a councillor down previously in London and Lewisham, when we were a unitary authority, it gave us the power to really kind of make sure that all services were integrated, where working with youth schools, working with youth centres, we were giving children the best possible chance in life. And looking at the exciting opportunities we have, particularly with the STEP project, and other regeneration funding to come. I'm very excited that when we do become a unitary, we will have that at the side of our children service, so we can make sure that every service that the children have something to contact and we're giving the best possible start in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Slater. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Sheila.
I'd just like to thank the team for putting the report together, because I think it continues to show our commitment to our young people to thrive, aspire and ultimately reach their potential. I also, as a member for housing, would like to know what it feels like for the children and young people who are living in our properties to have us as their landlord, and we intend to move towards looking at what it feels like for a young person to live in our social housing moving forward. But thank you to the team.
Thank you, Councillor Sheila. And Councillor Scotland.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to highlight all the good that's been done in this report and all the great things that have gone on. We talk in the report about the scouts, the uniform groups, we talk about events that have been put on, the money that's gone to BCBS and how they've done it, UKSPF money that's gone into helping events go on. And what I didn't seem to find out is the volunteers that have been involved in all those events. There's a massive sea of volunteers in Bassetlaw that give up a lot of hours, even if it's just a football team, to a scout leader. These hours are all a cost against what the price is for running that programme. Just last year I talked to what volunteers hours we did in the youth club, and the amount of people we had volunteer in the youth club, it came out as a cost of £32,000 for the year, what it cost of wages. So it just shows how important it is, and I think we should recognise volunteers in that field. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Scotland. I think there's a part of the report that talks about that, but certainly you're very right. We have some amazing volunteers all the way through Bassetlaw. Councillor Paul.
Thank you for that, Chair. I'll just go on to, I agree with everything that's been said actually. BPL have been, all of our partners have been involved. I want to the health and wellbeing initiative that we're taking part of this, things are happening. One of the things that those of us at the Grefton side of Bassetlaw, Panto and Hawks, actually sort of free event in the summer, taking kids, grandkids, it's well enjoyed by not just young people, but people that go along with young people. Movement more in May, that's happening, well not quite in May, but we're beginning. There's a lot of information on the website, doing publicity about that, and that's got a lot of things happening, We've got climbing wall, extreme wheels, 10 sessions at the camps, including skate parks, bodies absorbing, BMX, side hats and things like that you understand. But I think that this is just about engaging with young people, making them healthy, and making them part of the community. So I think it's a good report, excellent report. I love the photos, and I just want to give all credit to all the organisations involved.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions or comments? Councillor?
Thank you. Looking longer term to the future of Bassetlaw Museum, has the council considered changing the status to a community brand project, to open it up and rebids to get national lottery grants and other funding into it that you currently cannot apply for because it is run and controlled by the government?
Mr. Arnold?
We had previously considered that, and that's going back a few years, but the barriers to doing it were quite complicated because of some of this residual grant funding that had been received and the caveats that were attached to it. So I know that was going back a while. It is something, certainly as part of the overall process we will go through LGR, we will be looking at all of our assets and considering the best possible management options. And again, things like that for some of the less core services, should we say, is definitely something we can revisit. And we probably are now getting towards the end of some of the clawback periods for some of those grants, so it might be more feasible this time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Can I ask a question? Can someone switch on the mic, please? Yes,
Thank you. For myself, I really do welcome this report. There is a song, isn't it? I believe the children are our future. Our children and our grandchildren here in Bassetlaw are our future, and enabling them to succeed and enabling them to aspire to greater things is really, really important. And I think you can see by this report that that's something that we are endeavouring to do. So, if you move to recommendations on page 56, all in favour? That's carried, thank you. And you'll be delighted to hear this final one from me, which is 8C, the grant scheme for voluntary community sector 26-27 to 28-29. This is on pages 71 to 84, and the purpose of the report is to seek cabinet approval for the proposed allocations of grant funding for the voluntary and community sector for the next 3 years. We have a strong and committed voluntary sector in Bassetlaw, with a track record of stepping up when needed, as Councillor Scotland pointed out. Voluntary and community sector partners have played a key role in helping support Bassetlaw's communities. Firstly, through the COVID-19 pandemic, which was unprecedented at the time, and also the cost of living crisis that we are experiencing currently. With local government reorganisation underway, this report seeks to give partners certainty on the funding they will receive for the next 2 years and allow them to prepare for LGR accordingly. The proposed funding applications are budgeted for and set out in paragraph 3.6 of the report. And grant recipients will also need to agree service level agreements prior to the receipt of the grant. An annual update report will be brought to Cabinet highlighting the outputs from the grant funding. So the recommendations at 6.1 and 6.2 are on page 75. Are there any questions? Okay, Mr. Bassington, do you have anything to add?
No further comments, Chair. I'll have to answer questions.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Slater.
No, it was just a comment for me, just it's really heartening to see that we're still backing our community sector, who's such an important stakeholder in this district and are important in all localities. So I think it just shows you as a council, you don't really practice what we preach when you come to partnership work, and then I'd like to see organisations still receiving funding during these challenging financial times. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Chair. We're very fortunate in Bassetlaw because we have one of the best, most active, most consistent voluntary sectors, certainly in the county and possibly beyond. And the partnership arrangement between this council and the voluntary sector are hugely beneficial to very many Bassetlaw residents. And I think therefore, Chair, it's fitting and appropriate that we continue to support the voluntary sector and work alongside the voluntary sector of Bassetlaw as much as is possible.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I also welcome the funding allegations being published in advance. It is a shame this will lead to a real terms cutting funding for those organisations meeting into account inflation. In terms of the shortfall in the budget, it talks about that being covered by the housing revenue account. What proportion of the funding is exclusive for housing revenue tenants, and how has this been calculated and how can this be delivered?
Do you need the proportions? The amount is there, so do you need the proportion as well? Because it will work out the calculator.
Yeah, well, the funding that's been used in the housing revenue account can only be used on housing revenue tenants.
Yes.
How can we guarantee this and deliver this?
Mrs. Craig.
So we had a previous allocation through the HRA to a different organisation, Christians Against Poverty. That service wasn't used. Services like Citizens Advice are used in terms of housing services, debt advice. So we've reprofiled the spend that wasn't being used from Christians Against Poverty to this grant pot.
Thank you. I think I can speak on behalf of the council to say that we will not be already spent on people who are not in our social housing. People in our social housing with regards to £10,000. So that money will not cover the amount of work that is done with people in social housing. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. That doesn't give me any assurances. We know the Mayor and Nottingham City Council got when they use their housing revenue accounts for things that were not covered by that
Councillor Palmer.
design for.
Can I just say, I am assured that we will not be spending money from the housing revenue account that should not be spent there. It will be spent on people who are in social housing. So if you find any evidence of the contrary, then I'm happy for you to tell me. But at the moment, I don't believe we can say that truthfully because it's not going to happen. The money that we spend from the housing revenue account will cover people who are in social housing.
I'm just asking the question, how do we know this if we're not collecting that data?
We will collect that data because we will know who's in social housing. Mr. Barton.
As you're aware, Councillor McFarlane, the accounts are audited, and this is one of the things that the auditors look at, so we'll get actually from the auditors as well.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Any other questions on this? Councillor Paul.
Yeah, and then just Councillor McFarlane mentioned the fact that the budget's frozen over 3 years. I see it as a way of providing certainty over 3 years, even though there will be inflationary pressures on that. My understanding is I don't have to be in front of me that the figure for 26-27 in all those categories is not different from what it was for 25-26. I don't think that's true or not, but if there's been advancements in that.
Would that be you, Mr. President?
That's correct. That's correct, Councillor. It's a significant uplift for all grant recipients. So in 25-26, BCDS will receive 10,000, Citizens Advice will receive 20,000, the Action Centre at Bassetlaw Action Centre will receive 6,000, the Food Bank will receive 5,000, the Misterton Centre, their grant is kind of pegged to the costs incurred from our centre, so that kind of is projected at 10,000.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Yeah. I would like to see that report because in actual fact we're putting up front in the first year a considerable uplift with these people, up to 100% in some cases, and we're maintaining that uplift over 3 years. So any inflationary pressures during those 3 years have been covered with the fact that we're doing extra grant in the first year. So I think this is really good news, really welcome news, and I'm sure that this will benefit our communities and show our, I don't know how much we value the local voluntary sector, so I really welcome this report.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Any other questions or comments? So the recommendations are on page 75, 6.1 and 6.2. All in favour? Thank you, that's carried. So if we now move to item 9A on our agenda, which is the report of the Cabinet Member for Housing and Estates, Councillor Schuler. This is the Housing Services Annual Compliance Review.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide members with a position statement in respect of the Council's delivery of its landlord compliance areas of 25-26 and to provide assurance to the Council that the Council is meeting all the statutory and regulatory obligations as a landlord. The Council as a landlord has statutory obligations in respect of the following big 6 areas: gas safety, fire safety, asbestos management, electrical safety, water safety and links. In addition to the big 6 areas, additional statutory requirements also include Clause 42 of the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023, widely known as Arab's Law, which was introduced on the 27th of October 2025, and therefore this report also includes the housing services performance against the associated timescales for investigating and responding to significant hazards as defined by this legislation. The compliance manager, together with the property and development manager and the repairs and maintenance manager, ensure that the housing estate assets management systems capture all sources of data relating to the housing assets, that compliance data is checked and validated, and that the performance information in respect of the big 6 compliance areas is collated and regularly provided to managers, Cabinet and to the regulatory social housing, and that internal and external auditing takes place to identify any emerging areas of concern relating to contractor performance. Notable areas of work are reported to Cabinet as part of the annual compliance review, with the last annual review reporting on the 6th of February 2025. And through quarterly performance monitoring to Cabinet and monthly performance monitoring to the Strategic Housing Management Team. 25-26, these notable areas are set out in paragraph 3.3 and include intrusive fireworks having been completed in July 2025 to individual properties at Bassetlaw View, 52 outstanding overdue actions from fire risk assessments, of which there are no urgent actions, and 42 as of today, there are 42 actions outstanding, all of which orders for which work have been placed and are awaiting installation. All tenants in the Council's multi-occupancy premises have been written to and offered an annual personal emergency egress plan, with all new tenants being offered one as part of the commencement of their new tenancy. A procedure and operational management guidance being prepared in preparation for the introduction of Arab's Law in October 2025, and additional staffing resources being appointed to provide a dedicated team to respond to damp mould condensation repair. As at the 23rd of March 2026, 800 fire doors have been issued to our fire door contractor as part of the Housing Capital Investment Programme, with a total of 506 already having been completed, leaving a remainder of 294 to be replaced by the 31st of March 2027, all of which are medium to low risk. Introduce a new access procedure in respect of where access to properties is denied or difficult to obtain, following which 170 no-access letters have already been issued by the Council, where we have been able to gain access to complete a domestic EICR to date. performance is set out in paragraph 3.4, with the only area for improvement being in respect of 771 dwellings, which is 12% of the stock, requiring domestic EICR, which we aim to complete by the 31st of May. So, at this moment, there are 347 appointments outstanding and 401 to book. Property areas for improvement during 26-27 are set out in paragraph 3.5. In addition to this annual report, during 26-27, there will be an increased number of KPIs for compliance areas being brought to Cabinet in respect of this Big Six on a quarterly basis. Alongside the SPIs and additional indicators which will be reported to the Housing Scrutiny Subcommittee to enable them to monitor outstanding remedial actions for the Big Six compliance areas. Finally, as part of the review, the corporate performance management framework scheduled to go to Cabinet in July 2026, there will be more clearly defined escalation processes for underperforming indicators, which will include reporting by exception to the corporate management team on a quarterly basis. The recommendations are set out in paragraph 6.1 and 6.2.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Mrs. Craig,
And nothing to add, but very happy to answer any questions.
thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor McConnell.
Thank you. Just like to point out that over the last couple of years, there's been a massive improvement in this, and the feedback I've got from my own residents in terms of getting repairs done, so thank you for that. My only real concern I've got about this is no access properties. At the recent Health and Safety Committee, a report was given when a member of staff was assaulted by a tenant who didn't want them to access the property, and there was evidence of drug use at the property. I find it very disappointing that the council staff chose not to report this to the police, and needs to be a chance to issue some guidance for any future assaults on council staff is automatically reported to the police on a zero tolerance policy. So I don't think it's ever appropriate for council staff to be assaulted.
I'm going to ask you, Mrs. Craig, in a moment to comment, but I was at a union meeting this morning, and we were talking about this issue. Having worked in criminal justice myself, having a zero tolerance approach is fine to our staff being assaulted either verbally or physically, but I don't think it's appropriate for staff to give a statement to the police and to go to the courts if that staff member feels uncomfortable with doing that. So I think there is a balance to make sure that staff feel confident and supported enough to actually report something to the police. Mrs. Craig.
I am aware of that particular instance. It is incredibly rare, but I don't feel that this meeting is necessarily the most appropriate forum to give any more details around that, other than that individual member of staff at the time didn't want any formal action to be taken involving the police. That's not to say that action wasn't taken against that tenant in respect of the tenancy agreement.
Thank you, Mrs. Craig. Any other questions or comments?
There would have been an internal investigation through our health and safety, so in that respect it was fully covered and the member of staff was supported.
Thank you. It wasn't just in terms of prosecution, it's making the police aware. There's obviously other authorities go out, whether it's the county council, social services, just so it's flagged up on their system that there is an issue of that property. Perhaps it's a communication with the police in terms of highlighting concerns rather than formal complaints.
That would have come out of the health and safety investigation, and I'm sure that the communication was taken into consideration. Yeah.
So there is a reporting system, so
Yeah, there is.
dangerous people are not already in the system.
And our records do show when there is a the out-of-hours on-call management system has a full log of any areas of risk or any issues that are live in any property. So the communication is clear and it's with constant living document.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? So the recommendations are on page 91, 6.1 and 6.2. All in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. So if we now move to item 9B, which is review the tenancy strategy and council tenancy policy, and again, Councillor Schumann.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to seek approval for an updated district tenancy strategy of 26 to 31 and council tenancy policy of for 26 to 29, taking account of the regulation changes and council policies and procedures. The council, as part of the Localism Act 2011, is required to set out the matters to which the registered providers of social housing for its district are to have regard to when formulating policy related to the kinds of tenancies they grant, the circumstances in which they will grant tenancies and a particular kind, and the circumstances in which a further tenancy on the termination of an existing tenancy will be granted. The council current tenancy strategy and policy is outdated and requires review to take account of new legislation, in particular the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023, and new and updated policies and procedures. For clarity, from 2026 onwards, the revised tenancy strategy and tenancy policy will sit as two separate documents. The Council's tenancy strategy asks registered providers of social housing in the district to ensure that those most in housing need are housed, that they contribute to providing stability for vulnerable people, make best use of housing stock, that communities are stable and rents remain affordable. The main updates of the tenancy strategy attached to Appendix 1 include reference to the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023 and the pursuit standards and how that would impact on tenancies, including consideration of wider housing and planning flows. Update references to Bassetlaw District Council policies since the previous publication. Further information about different tenancy types, who would qualify, the length of tenancy and any extensions to those circumstances. The main updates of the tenancy policy attached to Appendix 2 set out the kinds of tenancies that the council as a landlord will grant, including secure, introductory and emotive, and the circumstances in which Bassetlaw District Council will grant a tenancy of a particular kind. The roles and responsibilities of the council as a landlord in respect of the policy, the review process and the monitoring of the use and effectiveness of different tenancy types. By failing to provide an updated tenancy strategy and policy, the council is at risk of failing to meet the requirements of the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023 and the regulatory social housing community consuming standards. The recommendations are set out in paragraphs 6.1 and 6.2.
Thank you, Councillor Schumann. Mrs. Crane, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Chair, but very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor McConnell.
Thank you. Just looking on page 130, it's citing the Housing Act of 1085, which would be 1985.
I think that's probably okay. Yeah, we can change that. I see this, it was just that. Any other questions or comments? No, so the recommendations are on page 95, 6.1 and 6.2. All in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. So if we now move to item 10A on the agenda, that's the report of the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood Council Bulk. This is the Rectory Worksop Leisure Centre decarbonisation programme.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, the purpose of the report is to update Cabinet progress with the Worksop and Rectory Leisure Centre decarbonisation project to seek approval for additional council investment required to complete the scheme following delays and extended delivery beyond the government grant period. In way of background, in February 24, the council was awarded £3.625 million of government funding, and that was to decarbonise 2 major leisure centres. The project aims to significantly reduce gas consumption, lower long-term operation costs, and contribute to the council's net zero ambitions. Over the last 2 years, the project progressed through design, through planning, through procurement, and equipment purchase stages. Delivery, however, has been delayed due to complexity in negotiating legal agreements with Transport Bassetlaw Schools Limited under the existing PFI arrangements. Despite extensive work since 2024, the required needed variation was not improved until late March this year, 2026. This prevented work from commencing before the grant deadline of the 31st of March 2026. The current position that the council now faces, detailed designs are complete and planning approval secured. The principal contractor has been procured compliantly, and all major plant and equipment has been purchased, largely that was funded through the grant. Design changes including acoustic mitigation for air source heat pumps, increased contract costs by approximately 24%, but remain legally compliant and value for money. The school has now confirmed approval of the deed of variation, removing the main non-financial barrier to delivery. All going well, work could commence on site in summer 26. That will be aligned with the school shutdown period. The financial implications are, because construction labour can no longer be funded from the government grant, an estimated additional £2 million of council capital investment is required to complete the scheme. The proposed funding approach is twofold: 0.5 million from Strategic Development Fund reserves, and that's already been approved, and 1.5 million via prudential borrowing, and this will fit into our medium-term financial strategy. Annual borrowing costs for the 1.5 million would be around £117,500 per annum, and will be largely offset by forecast energy savings of approximately £74,000 per annum, resulting in a manageable residual revenue impact. Overall, the scheme remains affordable, so the scheme is affordable, financially robust, as you can see with the medium-term strategy, and most importantly, value for money. The scheme benefits include reduces gas consumption by almost 2 million kilowatt hours per year, which is a colossal amount, and around 30% of the total gas used across these assets. Represents the largest decarbonisation project ever undertaken by the council, delivers long-term utility savings, and future-proofs key community assets, strongly supports the Vision 2040, which we're all signed up, and the asset decarbonation strategy, and our net zero commitments. Positions the council, and this is important too, as a leader in decarbonising complex PFI managed facilities. The recommendations are included under section 6 of the report, and I hope you will support those recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Mrs. Beresford, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Chair, so I can't answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Welcome, do you want to know?
Nothing to add, but I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? No, I think there are no questions or comments because this is a no-brainer, isn't it? To reduce our carbon footprint so significantly, which will also reduce the cost of the service. Why would we do anything else? So I think we all welcome this report. So we move to the recommendations on page 161, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 and 6.4. All in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. So now we move to other business. Item 11A, report of the Cabinet for Housing Estates, Councillor Schuler, Housing Organisation Development Proposal.
Thank you, Chair. The Housing Transformation Programme is a 12-month, evidence-led programme designed to create a sustainable improvement beyond the life of the programme. It responds directly to regulatory social housing consumer standards, scrutiny recommendations, and increasing legislative pressures. The focus is not solely on operational fixes, but on people, leadership, structures, systems, and cultures, addressing root causes rather than workarounds. Early diagnostic work shows role drift, inconsistency in people management, and authority in accountability, which now poses a risk to performance, retention, and compliance. The programme positions housing to be inspection ready, future fit, and resilient, including the context of local community reorganisation. Why changes needed now? Regulatory pressures, new proactive inspection regime introduced in April 2024, a new competence and conflict standard comes into force in October 26, with a strong emphasis on leadership, capability and people management. An inspection has already taken place and an improvement plan will be required regardless of the outcome. Operational realities are long-standing issues have led to drift in role and inconsistent people management practices. Scrutiny recommendations on voids required sustained capacity, capability and recognition of staff contribution. Legislative changes and demand pressures have led to the government's national plan to end homelessness, increasing both complexity and volume of work. What the Transform covers is the programme is structured around the workstream coding, leadership and management, and standards, capability, expectations and succession planning. People and performance, consistent people management, competence and compliance readiness, systems and data process, improved data quality, reporting and auditing around times, structure and organisation design, ensuring work sits in the right place with clear accountability, culture and ways of working, increasing engagement, professional standards and performance goals, customer excellence, improved estate conditions, compliance evidence, tenant satisfaction and reduced complaints. Risk of not accepting the recommendation are outlined at section 5, including missed opportunity to ensure readiness for the future, embracing digital readiness, enabling our talented officers and most importantly, improving our service delivery for our customers. The recommendation is to note the report and progress to a 6-monthly delivery report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Schuler. Mrs. Thompson, do you have anything to add? Nothing to add, thank you, but please take any questions. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Spencer.
Yeah, I just want to say, as someone who's working with Lynn and Joe on this really important piece of work, voted on the project sponsorship board. I think it's a really exciting opportunity for the housing service, not just to kind of learn lessons from what market inspection, but building that resilience and readiness for the future, particularly as we head into the new Unitary Council. Like what we've seen in the transformation agenda with the waste management service, it's about getting the housing service in a place where it's ready for the new challenges, which will come particularly when we become a new Unitary Council. And certainly I'm very happy with the transformation director reporting to lead this project. I think we will see some really good positive results following this piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Slater. Any other questions or comments? No? I think a good council always looks to improve. It doesn't matter really where we are. It's looking at how we can improve. There's always improvements about any organisation. So I welcome this report. The recommendation is on page 169. There's only one recommendation. Item 6, Cabinet Hours to note the content of this report and recommend a progress report to be delivered in 6 months' time. All in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. So if we now move to referrals, if we move to reporting minutes, this is to receive the Health and Safety Committee minutes on page 171 to 174. Are there any comments? No. And then to receive the Joint Employee Council minutes on page 175 to 178. Then are there any comments or questions? No. So then we move to the confidential part of our agenda.